Hi, my name is Cassandra, and this is the Healing Grief Podcast. It's been a little while since I posted. Honestly, I got sick. I started a couple new gigs, so it's been a little crazy. And I have an interview I need to edit that I decided I'm going to move all of my interviews to the new year. I have some schedule, which I'm very, very excited about. But for this podcast, to close off the year, I do want to talk about grief in the holidays because if you've lost anybody, you know how the holidays always seem to bring up this deep sense of grief. And for me, my mom loved, loved, loved Christmas. Christmas was her time of the year. My dad always said that my mom was really frugal until Christmas came around, and then she wanted to give us everything that she could possibly get. She loved to go shopping for us and do the Santa thing. She was famous for her sugar cookies. She'd tell me she'd have to hide them because the family would try to sneak them. And I just remember Christmases being so magical when I was little. And then my last Christmas with her was so awful because I technically wasn't there with her. She was in Glasgow, Kentucky, while we were in Florida moving my dad's girlfriend, which I didn't know that was his girlfriend until later, up to our house. I had to miss that time with her, but once we did get there, I had got my first Easy Bake Oven, so I did get to bake with her for the first time. I remember burning my fingers, and mom just was so quiet and timid there. And I get really sad thinking about the fact she had to be by herself on Christmas. And that was her last Christmas on Earth. And now I'm back in Michigan, and it's nice to be around family, but it's still the emptiness of her not being here is still there, but it's a little better now that I'm with my family. When I was living in California, I had to spend so many Christmases alone. And sometimes I just pretended it wasn't Christmas. There were many years that I didn't even put a tree up. I just kind of tried to ignore it or find something else to do. But, it's hard to hang out with your friends when they're all doing Christmas things. So I would just kind of self isolate and be by myself. And now I'm able to be with family, which is nice. And what I do to kind of carry on her tradition is I make her sugar cookies now in lieu of gifts because I remember one Christmas I bought everybody gifts and no one seemed to care. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to make these cookies for every year. And so that's what I do. And this year, my grandma wants a apple pie, so I'm going to make that for her. So I'm the type of person who I really like homemade goods for Christmas. Like, Christmas is so commercial nowadays, which is okay. You want to show someone you love them by buying them something, but really it's their presence, like their being there, their presence, not the presents that make a difference. And so I wanted to talk about how difficult the holidays might be for you. And it's totally normal. And like I said, I used to have a lot of Christmases where I would just pretend it wasn't happening, you know, put my head under the sand and literally in California, not really literally, but trying to pretend it wasn't happening, which is hard to do when you turn on the TV and it's all Christmas, Christmas, Christmas. And also, my mother's birthday is December 7th, which just happened last weekend. And so I like to share pictures of her and give her some love online because that's what we do nowadays. If you want to say happy birthday to someone, people do it on social media. And my mom never got to have social media. And to this day, I kind of wonder if she would be on it. My dad said she would love the internet for coupons and stuff. But Christmas is a time where they say be around your family and all this. And what I've learned, especially since quitting drinking and having this new way of grief where I like to have her around in spirit. In a way, I do that is talking about her. A lot of times, if you don't talk about somebody, the memories kind of drift off. But what I like to do on Christmas time or around her birthday is talk about her, ask my dad about her or ask my grandma or my aunt, and they'll tell me little things that I forgot. Even since moving back to Michigan 2 years ago, my aunt reminded me, who wasn't even her sister, my dad's sister, reminded me that my mom liked to put butter in oatmeal. And so now since then I've been putting butter in my oatmeal just because I remembered. I was like, oh yeah, she did do that. So I think a good thing to do is maybe keep a picture around. Even maybe a stocking might be sweet, or an ornament, make an ornament with them, like a picture of them. Talk about them, ask questions. Don't, it's kind of harder for me to not have her around or not talk about her than it is to pretend she never existed. That's more hurtful to me. So what I like to do, I like to make her cookies, and then I do these prying questions like, oh, what does she like about Christmas? What does she like to eat? And that's something you could do for your loved one. You could, ask your family members about them. Sometimes it's hard for people to talk about people they miss, but once you start getting into it and telling funny stories and reminiscing, it's not so painful. It's painful a little bit at first, but honestly, once you start talking about them, it gets easier and easier. Keep pictures around. Like I said, make an ornament, make a stocking, create a dish that they like, to use their recipes. There's so many ways that you can tie them into your holidays where they're still there in spirit. They'll always be there in spirit, but I believe the more you talk about them and let their spirit be awakened in you, it awakens in other people. And what happens is the more you talk about these memories, the more they're remembered. Write these things down. Because in my experience, if you don't talk about someone for decades, memories disappear. They really do. And because new memories take their spot, their place, or people are not computers. Or sometimes you got to think about, it's like when you have a computer drive and you save over it, that's kind of like memories. If you save over something, then you can't get it back. So I really believe, oh, and pictures are a big thing. I'll include some pictures of my mom on Christmas in my posts for this episode. But pictures are so huge because, especially since starting to write my book, I've been using pictures to trigger memories and get details. What was she wearing? What was her hair like? What jewelry was she wearing? Things like that that can bring them more into the present. So I would just say, going into the holidays, understand that it might be painful, and it's okay. It's okay to have a moment where you sit and cry for them. Don't feel guilty about that. You know, Grief is what happens when you love somebody and they're not there. And grief is where love goes sometimes, when there's no place to go, no place to bring it. So I just want people to understand that just because someone's not with us physically, they'll always be there spiritually. Even if you don't realize it, maybe it's things, your little mannerisms or things you say that came from your loved one. So as long as you keep them alive in their memories and photos, little trinkets, if you still have their clothes, wear it. Wear a piece of their jewelry. I like to wear my mom's jewelry when I go to special events and things like that, because it's a piece of her that's with me. I always say that the things she owned are sacred objects. Like right now, I'm sitting on my couch looking at my little mini Christmas tree that's covered in her ornaments because I don't have my own. I actually have maybe two on there that are recent that my aunt gave me, but the rest of them are my mom's. And I'm telling you, when I first opened up this green container that they were in, I burst into tears because I did not, I forgot about it. But to see these things that she loved so much, and then it was, she wrapped them up and had her stockings in there, and her little cute, I have this little cute little mouse figurine, and I have her Christmas dishes, and I keep two of the bowls in my kitchen and that I use just to, keep a piece of her with me during the holidays because, like I said, it was her favorite time of year, and I like to honor her and keep her alive by displaying her things. Even though at times it's a little painful, I think it's more painful not to do those things because when I was in California and I didn't have her ornaments, I had some random ones I got at Target and they didn't mean anything to me. But now I'm able to, sit down and decorate the tree with my cat next to me, and he plays with the ornaments and stuff. And I say, "You be nice to those are your grandma's," and stuff. And I always wonder if she's there scolding him herself because hey, you never know. Cats do see spirits, I believe. So, um, but yeah, I just wanted to do this quick little episode about the holidays and give a little tips, and I hope it helps. And sorry, I'm a little stuffed up, but I did want to get this episode up to close out the year. And I have some interviews coming up I'm very excited about. And I'm very, very honored to have started this podcast. And I'm honored if you're listening. And I can't wait to see what happens with it next year. I'm very proud of myself for starting it. And I hope everyone takes care and have a very happy holidays. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and remember forever.